Hey everyone, this is Knogot, and today I wanted to bring you a deck profile for Fairy Tail. I wanted to try this deck out at locals, and I really liked how the deck performed, and we tested a bit more, and I have refined the list a bit. And some have been showing interest in this deck and texted me or commented, so I figured I'm just going to make a deck list. And I'm going to show a combo in the end, just one combo. And then I also have recorded gameplay that's going to be coming in the future, but for now I just wanted to show you the list that I'm operating on. So let's start with the Fairy Tail engine. So we of course start with 3 Luna. This is a starter. It is an endport piece. It is good going second because you can normal summon it, you add something, you bounce something. It's a lot of pressure itself, and it's not once per turn, so you can just sometimes. I had a game where I broke a board and ended on this. It's like 3 Luna. It's very, very strong. So definitely a 3 of. Then I play 2 Machigiro. Now this is controversial. I've seen lists with 1, I've seen lists with 3. I like 2. It is a 1-card starter. It is not the best 1-card starter, but sometimes you have to go this, get the field spell, grab another one, special this, then you have 2 bodies. So you want 2 for that line. There's a different line where you don't need the second one. But I've been liking 2, and sometimes for the grind game you banish one because you have to for snow, and you have another one, although you can get them back from banishment anyway. But I'm pretty happy with this ratio. And then another controversial pick is 3 Genya of the Ring, because this is not a 1-card combo, but this card is just such a strong extender. It is in 2 boards. You activate this, target an opponent's monster, turn it into a spellcaster, and that applies so much pressure to them because this is a super poly deck. So whatever you made into a spellcaster and an extra board piece, you can turn it to Chorozo. So also, if you open a Charmy plus Genya, that is still full combo because you normal the Charmy, you go Genya on it, the Charmy turns into a spellcaster, and then you can make the Wicked. So I'm a big fan of 3 here. Of course, if you want to cut down, you can go 2, but I like 3. Only issue against Doomsday, if they go Drastea Pass, you cannot summon this because it's not targetable for the Drasteas. So that is a bit annoying, but still, I think this at 3 is good. Then we have Snow. Currently, it is coming off the ban list, and this card is such a huge help for the deck because, of course, if you play it without it, currently it's not legal at the point of recording this video, so playing without it makes the deck a lot worse. But this card just so strong, you want to get to it a lot. It not once per turn summons itself. You can get it off your field in your opponent's turn a couple times, bring it back, do it again. It's so good. Then we have 2 of the field spell. Again, 2 of haters will not like this deck profile, but the reasoning for it being, it is also a 1-card starter. It is not my favorite 1-card starter, but what you often do is you go through this in your combo, and this doesn't banish itself when it comes back from its effect. So once it leaves the field, in your follow-up turn, you can summon it back, and you want to run through all your spells in your main combo if you can do it. So having one other spell in your deck to grab and help you extend is very good, especially if your opponent outs the first spell that you used for a normal combo. You want another spell that you can use as a play starter plus to attack your opponent directly on the follow turn. Speaking of spells, we run 1 Once Upon a Fairy Tale, 1 Tales of the Fairy Tales. These are not bad draws. This, for example, is just an extender if you draw it. You can go like this card, right? Or one of these, link it off, bring it back. If you get to banish something, it's even better. You can also special from hand. It's just a very good card, and this is your grind game. So whenever this leaves the field, not leaves the field, whenever this goes to the grave or gets banished, except from the field, you can reset it. Interesting ruling is if they ghost spell this, it technically is no longer on the field because the activation was negated. So if they ghost spell this, you can reset it for your next turn, which is pretty good. So that is it for the main deck Fairy Tail card with the honorary member of the Fairy Tales, Genya of the Ring. Another thing worth mentioning for Genya is the monster you target cannot be destroyed by card effects once. So if you want to stick a body, you can get a body on the field, use Genya targeted, and your opponent cannot pop it once the Genya has resolved, which is good because you want to stick bodies on the field here. For the supplementary engine, we are running Magistus, so 3 Spenta, very strong starter if you don't get drolled. If you get drolled on Spenta, that is rough. You can still make a board if you go for the right target. So your targets are going to be these 3. Crowley obviously is only a target if you want to extend. For example, if you already access to these. If you have Spenta as your playstarter for Reliona, that gives you the most amount of bodies, but it does play into droll, because if they droll the Reliona, you will have nothing on the summon. And what you can do is you can banish Spenta, equip something, but even then you cannot add off the Artemis, so you cannot make a Choroso to even get to a rank 4. So I prefer Spenta going into Zoroa, and then the Zoroa, even if you get drolled, provides you with bodies to go into your Fairy Tail stuff. And if they don't droll you, the board still should be enough. So that is the Magistus line, and then we run the Jenny, which initially I thought, oh, we don't need the Jenny, we can just send the Spenta or summon one of these with Lacrima, but Jenny is incredible for this deck because we run 3 Lacrima of Light. This card is so good. If it has 2 effects, you can use both in the same turn, but not the same one twice. And it says that it's treated as a Magistus card, so Reliona can add it. And if your opponent activates a card effect, you can activate this to summon a Witchcrafter or Magistus from your deck. And the other effects, if you have a Witchcrafter or Magistus on the field, you can use it to dump a Spellcaster or a spell. So this and Jenny has the following interaction. Jenny, you can banish it, copies a spell in your grave, a Witchcrafter spell. So what you can do is, if you have these 2 in the grave, you just copy the effect to special from deck, even if you already used the special from deck effect before from the field, because this is Jenny's effect. This also can't get ashed in the grave, because this is not an effect that summons, it's just an effect that copies. So what happens here is, if you play going first or going second, your opponent activates anything, you can chain this, summon the Jenny, link the Jenny off, and then you can also use this to summon one of these, which provides you with a lot more bodies. Another thing, if you have in your 1-card combo a spare Lacrima of Light, you can send one of your Fairy Tail spells and traps, because those want to be in the grave. This will set itself, and this can equip itself from the grave. So 3 off, in my opinion, definitely. Even though it isn't really a 1-card starter, but with just anything, it just does so much. So that is the Magistus package. And then we have some fun little one-offs. That is Instant Fusion, Metamorphosis, Talents, Called By. Let's talk about these because everyone knows what these do. This deck has kind of a weakness to Charmies and Drolls. It's not a severe weakness, but still it does alter your lines a lot, and if you can use one of these, that's really good. We also try to break boards, so we have some board breakers in here, and this as an extra breaker is also nice. Plus Called by the Grave. Going second, most of the time it gets sided out, but against Branded, I like to keep it because one of the biggest threats to this deck is Fallen of Albas, fuse 2 of your monsters into Dogma, and then take away your graveyard follow-up, which often will be a Jenny and a Lacrima of Light, and that will just end the game right there. So if you can avoid it, Called By is a way to do it. That's why you play these 2. And then Instant Fusion can just summon your Fairy Tail fusion monsters, so it can be a starter, it can also be installation for hand traps, and Metamorphosis is kind of the same, just turns a level 4 into one of these fusions. Note that the monsters summoned by Metamorphosis is not properly summoned, so you cannot summon a fusion monster and then bring it back. Then we go to non-engine. So we are running the staple non-engine of the format. That is Droll and Fubalos. These are just the ones that do the most against Cool Tune, against other decks, Doomsy. Doomsy main, if you resolve Fuva against Doomsy, that means they will probably not end on Omnigates, and that helps a lot because Drastius plus Trap is already a lot to deal with. And Droll obviously can also cut short a lot of decks. So these 2, making a board smaller plus board breakers, is a good combination. You don't have to out the board with Fairy Tail because the field spell allows you to attack directly, so all you want to do is eat through the interactions and then attack your opponent directly for game. And then we have Ash Blossom, which is not really a going second card right now, unless you are against, for example, branded. But into Cool Tune, sometimes I side this out. It's just it doesn't do enough. It's kind of a board breaker against the spell, but you rather have one of these. Yeah. So Ash is kind of an extra called by because you want to negate Charmies with that. That's the sad truth about Ash Blossom, and that's why it's here. If you don't want to run Ash Blossom, you are free to run another board breaker here, which would fit in very well with the following cards. We have 3 Super Polymerization. This is not only good because of Theseus Mud Dragon. This, because you turn your opponent's monster into spellcasters, you have a very easy time to Super Poly them. So you can go and just Genia, target one of your opponent's monster. You summon it, and your opponent's monster is a spellcaster now, and now they're under constant pressure of you super polying their spellcaster and any extra deck monster to go into Chorozo. And other than that, you obviously also have Theseus and stuff. You'll see that in the main deck, extra deck. And yeah, then also these use spellcaster monsters, so if you turn into spellcaster monsters, that's also possible. You can use one of your fairy tales plus this, and if Tale of the Fairy Tales is made with a monster that's name is Prince of Fairies, you get to destroy their whole board. So if you get to turn one of the monsters into Prince of Fairies, which for example Machigiri does, the field spell does, and the Teller does, and then you super poly their board into Teller, you get rid of the whole board. So super poly, very, very good in this deck. And then for the last slot, I have 3 Forbidden Droplet. If I had Crown, I'd probably play this here. Or what you can do is you can play Crown and Droplet instead of the Ash Blossom, and then you have a very strong lineup. Again, you don't need to out their board, so Crown is perfect in this deck. You just crown their opponent's monster, you pin it down, and then you just attack them directly for game. So that is the main deck. That is 41 cards for any purists here. If you want to cut a card, you can cut the 3rd Genia. Probably you can cut one of the one-offs, not these two, but like one of these if you want. And the other cards here, I would probably not cut. So, but 41 has been working fine. Extra deck. We have 1 Teller, 2 Weaver. So you can play 1 and 1, or you can play this ratio. There are a lot of different ways to do about it. My logic here was Weaver can summon a fairy tale from the banishment. So this can summon the Teller once it's been banished for snow. You can summon it back. So you can go through 2 in your initial combo, and then on the follow-up, you go this, you bring back the Teller, and then that's how you get it back. Also, this needs a light fairy tale monster in the spellcast, so this just needs any fairy tale monster. So this is a better super poly target. One of the things, however, if you play the Alchemic Magician package, which in your end phase can set a super poly, you probably want the second one of these, because that means during your opponent's turn, you can turn your opponent into a fairy prince, you super poly them, you go into this and just destroy their whole board on their turn. So you can play 2 of that for that, but I think this ratio is nice, and this is also your preferred instant fusion target, so that means that monster won't be staying on the field. However, if you want instant fusion to protect you from hand traps, then this is the better target, so you probably can't go into this in the combo later on. Yeah, so that's for the fairy tale fusions. For the fairy tale Xyz, we have 1 Wicket. You just need to resolve this once. If you resolve this once, your grave has been set up for the game, so you don't need 1 more. If this gets ashed, obviously that hurts, but I don't think I would use a second slot for a second one. And Crackle is not a real card. So next we have the Artemis cards, Artemis Magistus cards. 2 Artemis, you need 2 for your combo, and you have 1 Endymion, which helps you bridge, but also helps you do some other funny stuff, like searching Droll. Basically, this on summon equips a spellcaster from grave or banishment, non-targeting. And if you equip a Droll, for example, that you somehow got to your grave, you can bounce it back, and then you search the Droll effectively. We have Zoro. This is your monster negate endboard piece, plus also What you want to do going second is you want to go through this line to force interaction before going into Zorua, because Zorua can equip an opponent's monster plus is a monster negate, so this is a lot of pressure, takes out a lot of interaction. And again, the goal of this deck is to take away your opponent's interactions and then attack them directly. We have one Ninaruru. If you don't know what this does, this, when equipped, can pop itself and a spell trap your opponent controls. And this, as a monster effect, is 2 spellcasters level 4. This is a rock, so you cannot make this after your spellcaster locked. So be careful of that. And the effect is to detach a material and then target a level 4 or higher spellcaster in your grave and add it to your hand, which can be nice if you, for example, have a Crowley in the grave and you want to make the Zorua. You can detach material, get back the Crowley, summon Crowley, and then fuse these two for the Zorua. So usually this is back row removal because this deck doesn't have that much back row removal. So it's nice to take out annoying things like Fallen and the Virtuous before you commit your field spell that you need to have on the field. Then we have 2 Chorozo. This is a super poly target, but it is also an extender. Sometimes if you go like the big combo, you run through 2 Chorozos. So I run 2. The big combo being Summon Sork into Charmer Quartet. So the monsters you summon back by the quartet cannot be used as material, and this also cannot be used as material. And to get around that, you just play a Chorozo to turn one of your monsters that you get back into a Chorozo. You can take any spellcast that you summon back with this, and this itself to make a Chorozo, or the monster you brought back plus an equip for Chorozo. And that's how you get another extender. And then we have 2 super poly targets. We have Mud Dragon and Theseus. No Garura, which is an option for rogue matchups. Oftentimes you always make Mud Dragon. Mud Dragon is very good. And Theseus is for Cool Tune. Now, there are some people who say you just cut the Theseus because if they see super poly, they will play around it. So they won't give it to you. But sometimes they might not have an option. But for rogue matchups, you usually try to turn your opponents into spellcasters and play from there. But if you want to make space for a Garura, it is probably going to be the second Weaver. And then you play a Garura. A lot of lists play Mechaba. I am not a big fan of Mechaba now. I had Iwas before, which, take it, is this card instead, which is a Magician's monster and a spellcaster. And it can basically snatch the opponent monster. So this was my target for if I have Endymion plus Crowley on my end board, so that in my opponent's turn I can fuse. But I've seen myself that I don't really end on Endymion plus Crowley. I just rather use Endymion to climb, or I use Endymion for the draw thingy. So I rarely make this anymore. And I like Iwas more than Mechaba because Mechaba needs Alistair, whereas Iwas is also potentially a super poly target because you turn something into a spellcaster, you have Magistus on the field, you can dodge interaction by activating super poly, taking the spellcaster, and then make Iwas, and then force another interactions, which also doesn't cost you a card in hand. Plus, whatever is equipped by Iwas gets plus 1000. So if you try to go for a game, you can Spenta equip Iwas to your Fairy Tales, and then if you attack directly, you get more damage out of it, 1000, which can help with some breakpoints. So if I ran a fusion target, it would be Iwas, but right now I'm playing the second Weaver. I'm going to try that out. I had Iwas before. So that is the deck profile. Let's show you a combo. Okay, so let's do a Luna 1-card combo. Now, I will preface this by saying that there's a lot of ways you can go about combos, and since you have a higher amount of engine in your deck, the lines will alter heavily depending on what you draw and what you play against and all that. So this combo is just trying to get the maximum potential out of Luna, just to show you the interactions with this deck and what you can do and how flexible it is. But generally, just try to think beforehand, where do you want to go, what do you want to set up, what's your matchup, and do that. But here, you start with Luna, grab, Genia. So here's already a branching point. The combo I like to do is here go into Machi and then try to go into Magistus line before I go into Fairy Tale, because I don't want my Wicked to be hand trapped. But there's different arguments for different lines. But in this case, we have to go for Genya, and you will see why. We have to keep the Magistus line for later. So Genya targets the Luna, and then you overlay for your Wicket, which you can then use to detach these two and send to the grave these two. Obviously, depending on what access you have, you can send the Once Upon a Fairy Tale, because that's already an interruption for your opponent's turn, because it brings back Luna and whatever light fairy tales you have. But here, we just send these two, and then we activate Machigiru to summon itself back, and that grabs you the field spell. Now you activate the field spell, so you can grab another Luna, and then you can equip Tales of the Fairy Tales to your Machigiru, and then you can extra normal summon the Luna, which will grab you a Snow. Now you can use Tales of the Fairy Tales to fuse a Fairy Tale, a Spellcaster, and a Light Fairy Tale to go into Teller, and now you have a negate on the board. So what you can do now is you can link one of these off into an Artemis, and then do another link summon into Endymion, which can then equip itself with Artemis. So now we have Artemis equipped, and we can use it to grab ourselves a Spenta, which can then add a Crowley. And you're not using the Crowley effect here. Instead, what you want to do, you banish the Spenta, you equip another equip onto the Endymion. Again, this is the full power line, so you're going to run through a lot of your extra deck here. There is a lot of different stuff you can do. But here, we're going to use these two to make a Chorozo, and now we have a link 3. And that's going to be our Summon Sork. Summon Sork will summon a spellcaster from our hand to our opponent's field, and then summon a monster with the same type from our deck. Both of them are negated. So you can go, if you just want bodies, you go for the Zoroa, and then the Zoroa is negated. So what you do is you go into the spellcaster. But this is where it gets interesting. So what you can do actually is you can simply summon any spellcaster here. So for example, if you have an extra body, you don't use the Endymion, you just make the Summon Sork, you get the Droll, you get an Endymion later, and you can bounce that Droll to your hand. So that is the line to add Droll. Another thing you can do is, and that's the line I want to show here, is instead of the Zoroa, you summon this card, the Cosmo Queen, and this is negated. I'm going to tell you what it does in a second. And what you do with any spellcaster you summon, because it's negated, it can't be light, by the way. You summon the Charmers, and the Charmers, once while it's face up on the field, can summon 2 monsters with the same type, different attributes, or same attribute, different types from your graveyard. So you definitely want to get back your Luna, and then whatever you summon back, it has to be a non-light. So we bring these two back, and then this can, as an ignition effect, target a field spell. If it's yours, you can pop it and search another one. And here you can search Secret Village, for example. And then what you want to do is, this cannot be used as material, this can't be used as material, also this not. So what you can do is you use these two to make another Chorozo, and then use the Luna to bounce itself and the Crowley, and that triggers the Crowley to summon itself and fuse with the Chorozo to get Zoroa, and then the Zoroa can equip from your graveyard. And now what you have is you have the 2 negates, you have the Secret Village, and you have the Luna in hand, which is going to be relevant if you have extenders to get to your spell, quick play spell, and you have Snow in the grave for a disrupt. You have the Wicket for dodging the snow, and you also have the Machigiru and the Tails for follow-up. Plus, the Snow will banish the Genia, which adds itself to its hand. Now, this doesn't look like a huge board. You have 2 negates and you have the village. Of course, you can make different boards, bigger boards, depending on what you summon off your deck. We just ended on a smaller board because we wanted the village. But I just wanted to show off some interactions here that you can do. What I usually like to do is instead start with getting this into Once Upon a Fairy Tale, because I value that card a lot, and then try to force him a Justice line before going into Fairy Tale, and then you end up with the quick play spell plus negates and the Snow and Grave. That is more versatile line, but there's a lot of lines you can do. You can Spellcasters is a vast field. You can also summon Diabell Star if you want to go into an Azamina line. I wouldn't recommend that, but that's something you can do. But that's just one example of a combo you can do. There's a lot of more combos out there, but that's it for the video. Thanks everyone for watching. If you want to talk about this deck, if you have more ideas, you can join the Discord and talk to me. And anything else, I'll see you next time.